Awesome. Live here. So today's topic is about how to speak to yourself in an encouraging tone, right? Because when you run your own business, if you're a solopreneur, business builder, whatever you want to call yourself, we have to be able to speak to ourselves in an encouraging tone. Most of us say, dude, you're an asshole, or you forgot that shit again. There's things that you say that debilitate you, right? And it starts with negative self-talk, and it's having that tone in your mind, right? Pretty much, when we speak to ourselves, it elicits emotions. And when you're working towards building a business, you're working towards something that's very important to you. If you're not encouraging yourself, you're taking yourself down. You're taking yourself down a peg. You're moving down. You're getting small. You're being. It's like when you use the phone. Same thing. You go down to this, and you hold in this little tiny thing and extend instead of expanding yourself. But there's a great book by Shad Helmstetter that was, I think, in the late 80s. I was a teenager then, I believe. But it was like how to speak to yourself. And I encourage anyone here listening to that to get that book. It's a great book. It was recommended to me by one of my mentors, Donald Stojak. And, I want to retitle it and say how to squawk to yourself. But the thing is like, the way we tone we speak to ourselves in a tone in such a way that you're in an angry or a negative tone, what happens? You elicit that emotion. You elicit that emotion of anger. And instead of doing that, what if you could change that tone and speak to yourself in a warm, encouraging tone? And the acronym's WET, right? Which is not a great acronym, but warm, encouraging tone. And instead, if you could change that affirmation, right? When you speak to yourself, you're kind of affirming how you're going to be in the world, how you're going to show up, what you're going to bring to the table. And if you're running a business, like I'm running a business, you're going to go through ups and downs and all arounds. And there's literally going to be uh-ohs, oh shits, and oh my gods. And you're going to have to figure them out. And that's just a part of it. But if you can speak to yourself in a positive, warm, encouraging tone, and literally like in your mind, if you can, and I wrote down this affirmation, and here's another thing Shad Helmstetter said in his book, is to make your own positive affirmations and record them and then play them in your car. At the time, I don't think you could play in your car, but now you can. But you could play them back to yourself, and you could play it out loud in your car. And when you're making your own affirmations, you're hearing your voice, and you're hearing it in a positive, encouraging, enthusiastic tone. And they're going to encourage you and inspire you to be at that higher level of self. So again, I want to encourage you to speak to your inner child that way, right? Like speak to yourself like you would encourage a child. Unless you're a mean father, don't do this. But if you could speak to yourself in that kind of warm, encouraging tone, and I wrote down one, that I think is good. And it's like, you know what? You're really going to enjoy it when you get it, right? You're really going to enjoy that when you get it, right? If you could speak to yourself in that tone, man, you're really going to enjoy that when you get it. And I wrote down another one. The next step you take in life are getting you closer to what you want. Doesn't that feel good? Right? If you could hold that tonality in a higher tone, especially when you're running a business, you're answering emails, possibly, you have an assistant, you're maybe speaking to your assistant on one of these apps and conveying what you need her to put together so you could put a presentation together or whatever the case may be. But if you can lift that tone, right? Because most of us have that negative self-talk where, maybe a parent spoke to you in such a way and now they're not in your life anymore. So what do? You decide to take the same, take the same voice of that parent and use it inside of your head. Like, oh, since they're not here, I'm going to just carry on the legacy and speak to myself that way because they're not speaking to me in that way. And again, that just debilitates you and breaks you down, right? Because most of the time when you're a solopreneur, 2, 3, 4 employees, or maybe you have a brick and mortar and you're putting it online, it's a difficult process to bridge that gap from where you are to where you want to go. So during that journey, you want to be able to speak to yourself in such a way, that's positive, encouraging. I'm not saying like ignore the negative, because the negative, there's always, it's feedback on how to get better, right? Anything negative is feedback on how to get better. And as long as you keep addressing and keep moving forward and not back, you're going to address it and you're going to move forward. But that negative self-talk, if it's consistent, it goes into an infinity feedback loop, and it goes and goes and goes and goes and goes and goes, and it's in your face constantly. So what's going to happen? You're going to attract a lot of that into your life when you're trying to move your tonality and energy forward. So I encourage you to use that, man. You're really going to enjoy that when you get it, man. The next steps you take in life are really getting you to that outcome that you really want, and whatever that is for you, put that in there. But having these positive affirmations, declarations, and you're saying them day in and day out, and recording them, putting them in your car, play it on your phone so you can hear them on the way to work, when you're in lieu of moving yourself forward to what it is you're looking towards. So most of us have a feedback loop that is not encouraging us, right? That's discouraging, to be 100% honest. But that's the thing. Like, if you could talk to yourself in a warm, encouraging tone, man, let's practice that. Let's practice that right now. Maybe pause this video and practice saying, write down 5 affirmations. 1, 2, 3. I have some ink on my hand. 3, 4, 5 that you could write down. And right now, get out your phone. Take your phone. Hit that record button, right? You could even say, hey, you're really going to enjoy that when you get it, right? And maybe read them off the paper like I am. The next steps you take in life are getting you closer to getting whatever it is, your next client, your website fully complete, whatever it is that you're in your journey to do, record that, and you could play that back to you. And I would love to hear in the comments below what your takeaway, your number one takeaway from this is, right? And how you could do that, because a lot of us just keep doing the same thing over and over again and over again and over again, because we think we're in control. We do. We think we're in control, but we're actually not. We have an older brain, a reptilian hindbrain and a mammalian hindbrain in there, and they're dictating a lot of things that are going on, right? Neuroscientifically, right? Research dictates that these things run on autopilot, and usually, they were there for us to keep us safe, away from danger, away from like being killed by animals. But now that's not the case, but what we're doing is we're reinforcing that negative self-talk instead of course correcting it, tweaking it, and making it better for you. So again, if you could leave in the comments below, I'd love to hear what your affirmation is going to be for you, moving yourself forward instead of back, right? And replacing that with positive self-talk, right? What would that look like for you? Post in the comments below. And I would love to hear what you come up with. Like I asked you the question, how do you speak to yourself normally? Maybe post that. And then what's something new you could say to yourself to improve your speech, right? The tonality, the vibrations, because our thoughts become our feelings become our emotions become our actions. I will encourage you to take right actions. I think it's a great step, and let's do that. So I would love everybody to have an amazing day, and please leave a comment below, and I look forward to hearing what your emotion, your new affirmation would be for you, because I think it can totally be life-changing. I do this, and I have a few. I have to look for them, but I played them in the past and they encourage me, inspire me, right? So I want to do the same for you. Take care. Have an amazing day.